Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Trust me, you're going to love what we're going to talk about today. When I saw Melissa send over the notes, I was like, really? That's our topic? I want to dig in now. Dr. Melissa Oden is she's the CEO of the Health Education Resources Network. She helps so many people move their lives forward in terms of coaching. How would we give you a title? What would you be?
Well, technically, I'm the founding CEO of Health Education Resources Network. And my tagline, I think, says public health educator or public health consultant, speaker, health educator. I don't know what it says. Anyway, it just kind of encompasses all of those things.
Yeah. Well, you help people, especially women, dig out of challenges. Really, when we talked about stress in the past, we talked about lots of other things that affects women's lives. I'm going to give you another title, and I think you're going to be okay with it. Recovering chocoholic, maybe. Would that fit you?
Not even recovering.
Practicing.
Yes, practicing. Yes, absolutely. And if anyone is wondering, this does actually tie into stress management, and we're going to go there in just a little bit. So How about that?
Fantastic. The benefits of chocolate. And not more than 45 minutes ago, I go to a place and get a cup of coffee. Now so here's the thing. I drink decaf. Sometimes when I have caffeinated coffee, soda, whatever, it kind of jacks me up a little bit. So I try not to do it. But they had chocolate turtle, not truffle, turtle. I don't know what it means. Chocolate coffee. So I did a half decaf, and I had to have half of that. So good. I don't know if it's real chocolate. I don't really care. Psychologically, I'll go with it. But
as long as it's not real turtle.
No, I don't know what it is. And I did a double take. I don't think it was a typo because it was like professionally printed.
Right.
I don't know, but it said turtle. I don't know what that means. I'm not going to ask them. I'm just going to drink it because it tastes good. But yeah, who doesn't like chocolate? I don't know if I can name anybody, but chocolate has so many benefits. We hear different things, but you took it upon yourself to do the research and come back with the answers we all need.
I did. Because
for that, we thank you.
Yeah, you're very welcome. I'm glad I could be of service to someone.
Yes. So let's go there. Let's talk about that. There's other things to talk about today, but when it comes to stress, alleviating that or reducing it, chocolate can be part of our therapy.
Yeah, it sure can. In fact, I would like to call this section "Hand Over the Chocolate and No One Will Get Hurt."
Gotcha.
Yeah. So chocolate is my favorite. So anybody who knows me knows I have two vices in this world. One is tea. And because I'm a Southern girl, it's normally iced tea, unsweet with lemon or lime, depending on what the situation is. But today it's hot tea because it is cold today in Texas. I'm all sweatered up today because it is cold here and rainy.
Yep.
So so that's my first vice. And my second vice is dark chocolate. And so it's really, really hard to get away from that sometimes. But when I did the research for my beta course, the Women in Stress course that is, by the way, about to roll out at the end of this month, I discovered that there was actually some pretty good research on why we love chocolate. In fact, there's a Tip Top monthly job survey reveals that 45% of employees turn to chocolate for stress relief. Now, I know this is true because when I was teaching, I had a basket of chocolate that I would keep in my office right near my door. And my students would sometimes just step in and do this and grab and leave. And that's never asked them. I never said anything because I knew if they were doing that, something was happening, right? So they were probably stressed out enough that they couldn't even talk to me. They just wanted some chocolate and needed to go. So that was pretty fun to watch that kind of unfold in front of your eyes. But did you know that chocolate is the #1 food craved by American women? Did you know this?
I'm not surprised.
No one should be surprised. And along with that, researchers have found that eating chocolate actually causes the brain to release endorphins, which is the chemical that makes us feel good. So it is no wonder that women in particular really like this go-to snack when we're stressed, because it literally is releasing chemicals in our brain that makes us at least think we're feeling better.
I love it.
We
I
do.
love it.
Yeah.
And we're going to be friends because I'm on team dark chocolate as well.
Yes.
And
Yes.
okay, what white chocolate?
That is not chocolate. It
Like,
is. I'm sorry, folks. It is not. There is no cacao in that whatsoever. And cacao is the important factor here. And we'll talk about that in just a second. The other thing that you might want to know that's really interesting is that chocolate is a natural analgesic, otherwise known as painkiller. Go figure.
did not know that.
Yeah. So, and by the way, more is not necessarily better. We'll talk about that too. but according to this research, chocolate is the single most craved food in the United States across all genders. It doesn't matter who you are or where you're living. Everybody pretty much, I think, has a little something of chocolate in their house somewhere. I know I do. Mine's on my ottoman in my living room by the TV. So.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
I
it's
have a
just
little
interesting.
cup. I have a little cup on my counter, and inside there is chocolate. And I try not to go there. I'm like, I walk past it, like, don't do it, don't do it. But every once in a while, later at night, I'm like, what? Let me grab it.
I know. I have the same conversation, right? Because like right now, I think we talked about before. I've got those little Three Musketeers because of Halloween, right? So I've got these little Three Musketeers that are living next to the Reese's dark chocolate peanut butter cups. And what am I reaching for? I'm actually reaching for the milk chocolate Three Musketeers. That will end soon. But for the most part, I do try to keep dark chocolate in that little container because it is the best for you. It's not nearly as sweet, and that's part of the reason why it's so good for you. But the more cacao that you get in chocolate, the more actually heart healthy it is for you. And as we all know, as we've talked about before, I'm really passionate about heart health in women and the whole stress factor, right? So if you're going to pay attention to your heart, if you're going to do something for your heart, one of the best things you can do is eat dark chocolate or have a couple of cups of dark coffee, which I don't drink, by the way. So you know how I make that up for that?
With the chocolate.
Yeah, exactly.
Something before, Melissa. They make, did I hear dark chocolate peanut butter cups?
Yeah, Reese's dark chocolate peanut butter cups. And actually they're called Reese's Thins, the ones that, and this video is not sponsored, by the way, but they're little thins. And I had somebody come to my house one time and see that, and he was like, do these actually make you thinner? I'm like, no, that's not the point. Not the point.
At that
But
point,
yes.
I don't really care if it's dark chocolate and it's peanut butter magic. I never knew that existed.
Yeah.
I got to get on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So go to your local grocery store and see if you can find those. They actually come individually wrapped. So that's even better.
That's guilt, I guess.
That's even better.
Can we talk about the cacao or cacao? Say it. How do you say it?
It's cacao. Yeah. It's yeah.
Okay.
So you want minimum 73% for maximum benefit. Once you get past that, it really becomes too bitter to eat. So one time I actually tried 80%. I'm telling you, I was like, ooh, I can't do this. And so if you cook with it, it's a lot easier to add just a tiny bit of sugar. And by the way, please use real sugar because it's just, all of that fake stuff. It will kill you. It's not good for your liver. So, like for example, my grandmother's hot chocolate recipe. You use real chocolate, right? Like the Hershey's real dark chocolate, and then it's like 1 teaspoon of that to 2 teaspoons of sugar, real sugar. So that's kind of how you balance that out. So yeah, minimum 73%. So if you're buying the bar dark chocolate, it will usually tell you on the wrapper what percentage of chocolate or cacao is in it. So you don't have to guess.
So can I share something with you?
Yeah.
Okay. And when you talk about the cacao, it's the better quality chocolate that you're going to see the percentages. And you're 100% right. I was like, let's go for the 93% dark chocolate. Yeah, this is going to be healthy, good for you. It was bitter. I was okay with it because I love dark chocolate. So I'll take one for the team, no problem. But
right.
Give it to my daughter. She's like, what is this? So I did about 4 months ago a cacao.
Yeah.
Ceremony.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what it was a meditation involving that chocolate in its purest form from the rainforest, the highest level of magnesium of anything you can ingest on the planet. They sweetened it with agave. So now it's naturally sweetened.
Yes.
We drank it. It's supposed to have euphoric properties. That's what they say.
Yes.
So we all drank it. like hot chocolate, hung out for a little while, did a little meditation. And then afterwards, we laid down on a mat. It's about 15 people in the room, and people were just like meditating and doing a breathing exercise led by somebody. I'm not kidding you when I tell you that every single person in the room, myself included, were crying.
Really?
It was so emotional. It was mind blowing. I don't know what it was, but it all came from that chocolate and the breathing technique. Yeah. So
Wow.
there's
Wow, that
something
sounds
there.
like something I need to try. Well, I don't know if you remember that movie Chocolat, but that they actually showed a little bit of that history in that movie of how the early Americans, I guess, and actually they weren't Americans, but it was brought to America sometime after that, how those folks actually use that dark chocolate in spiritual ceremonies. So that actually doesn't surprise me. And there's my favorite chocolate shop is in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and they actually use some of those same kind of concepts in their chocolate house as well. And so it's just amazing. Yeah. And eating chocolate in Santa Fe, New Mexico is such a great experience anyway. I mean, that's like the best place I think to eat chocolate.
I just want to interject in here. It wasn't a bad thing that people were crying, because
Right.
it opened your mind up and you thought about things that were troubling you and you were releasing it during that ceremony. So it was a good thing. Plus I had chocolate. So
Yeah.
how bad could it be?
Yeah, no, that doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I was about to ask you if they were doing reflexology or Reiki on you or something.
Not at that time, but in this studio, they would have done it. And my friend booked it. I've never done a meditation, like a group, nothing like that. This is the first time I've ever done anything like that. And of course, what I would walk into, people are crying, but it was impactful. And like, to your point, why chocolate is so powerful. So what are some of the other things that we should know or keep in mind when it comes to adding chocolate to our diet? The benefit?
So one thing that we want to keep in mind is that chocolate cravings have something to do with a brain chemical that makes us feel relaxed. So to your point, that's probably why people were responding in that way, because they were probably feeling incredibly relaxed. And when you have a decrease in serotonin, it tends to lead to that craving for starches and sweet foods like chocolate. And so the next time you're craving something sweet, just go, oh, my serotonin is low. At least you'll know the clinical reason why that's happening. But in contrast to that, endorphins, which are also feel-good chemicals, are affected by dietary fat. And guess what chocolate has in it? It has good fat in it, right? So chocolate has gotten a bad rap in the past for having fat in it, but as long as you're in moderation with it, that's the kind of fat, much like avocado fat, that's what you want in your diet. We need fat in our diet. That whole low fat thing of the 1980s, that's when America got fat, is when they started eliminating fat in their food. Because guess what? When you pull out fat from the food, guess what you have to put in to give it some flavor? Sugar. Yeah. So everybody was taking out the fat in their food, which you desperately need for your brain. And they were putting in sugar, and everybody was becoming overweight and obese and, getting diabetes and all sorts of bad things. So you really need some good fat in your diet. So chocolate's a really good way to get that.
And on the reverse side of that, and this is what I learned from reading labels, is that when you find sugar-free, like you'll see, sugar-free cookies and, oh, this is great. Let's say if you're a diabetic or whatever it might be, number one, it's chemicals, but whatever. The amount of fat, usually not good fat, is amped up like 4 times as much.
Yeah.
They can make it sugar-free.
Yeah. And in the natural health world, we call this the standard American diet, or the SAD diet, because a lot of folks just aren't educated about what's actually happening to their food. And the fact that, it would cost an organic chocolate farmer, for example, more to harvest that kind of chocolate than it does for like conventional farmers to do their thing is ridiculous, and that's part of the reason why it's, people drive through the Golden Arches, drive through, because you can get stuff on the dollar menu, but when you go to get organic fruit, it's $6.99 a container for like this much. What are you going to do if you need to feed your family? I mean, no judgment here. I'm just saying our society has kind of set things up in the way of the world for failure, if you ask me. But Dark chocolate really is best for you in terms of what you want to purchase. And yes, it is a little bit more expensive, but it's worth it in terms of the health outcomes that you want. There are more free radical fighting antioxidants in dark chocolate than in milk chocolate. Why is this important? Because those free fighting radicals or free radical fighting antioxidants are the ones that are keeping you from getting sick, from developing things like cancer or other things that we don't like to talk about. And so when your cells can do their thing because they've got these free radical fighting antioxidants working for them, then you're less likely to become ill. Now, I am not saying that eating a bunch of chocolate is going to keep you from getting cancer. Please don't hear me say that. What I'm saying is we need to be mindful of what we're putting in our bodies so our cells will react appropriately and they can do their job. They can do their job. And by the way, if you're feeling good, your immune system's going to be raised. So again, we come back to this whole thing about what have we been learning for the last 72 months or however long it's been, a couple of years. We need good, strong immune systems. So, hey, what I might be saying is dark chocolate might help you with that. So, if you're worried about your immune system, have a little dark chocolate. It actually might help you.
So questions. Now that we're talking about chocolate and its benefits, and many of us kind of heard it, but we're really bringing it to the forefront here. What is a proper serving? Is it every day? How much should you have? Do you have that kind of info?
Yeah, so it's typically anywhere from 2 to 4 ounces of dark chocolate a day. Isn't that good news?
Wow.
Yeah. And really and truly, do I have a scale in my kitchen that's weighing it? No. And that's typically because I don't have it every day myself. It just really kind of depends on what time of year it is or what I've got available, or the fact that I may just not be hungry for it that day, which is fine. I mean, some people might say there's something wrong with me there, but I'm just saying there are just some days I just don't ingest it. So on average, we're going to say on average, you want to look at anywhere from 2 to 4, I would say 6 ounces would be tops of good quality dark chocolate every day. And yeah, you could have that in some hot chocolate because, as I mentioned, it's cold here today and that might be on the menu tonight. But keep in mind that milk has a lot of sugar in it. So when it gets into your gut and breaks down, it breaks down into pure sugar. So just be real careful about how much hot chocolate you're actually drinking, if that is a concern of yours. So,
okay.
or if you have kids that are reacting to milk.
Rewind. So I never knew that milk contains a lot of sugar.
Yeah, well, when it breaks down in your gut, it converts to sugar. So,
Wow.
and by the way, in my estimation, whole milk really is the best way to go, especially for kids because they need the nutrients that are in it. But if you find that your kid starts bouncing off the walls after they've had a little bit of milk, you might want to back them off just a little bit to see if they stop bouncing off the walls. And if they do, then you probably know that sugar is being used in their gut to kind of make them ping, ping, ping right off the wall. So it kind of gives you a little insight. Yeah. And I'm not saying take them off of it. I'm just saying you just be aware of what's going on, right? I mean, just be aware.
The stuff you learn from you is I never heard that. And just think about it. If you added not the best chocolate, but if your kid says, "Can you put some syrup in my milk?" Okay, sure, no problem. Now you have the sweet from the chocolate, not the good chocolate. And now you have the milk converting to sugar when it gets to their stomach. Not the greatest combination, for adding sugar to your kid. All right.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and I don't know, I've got my cup sitting right here. This is probably, I would say about 12 ounces. If you're going to do hot chocolate, I mean, I wouldn't go any more than this. I'd probably go 6 to 8. So if you've got a smaller mug, that would be perfect.
That mug looks like a 55-gallon drum. Come on, that's not 12 ounces.
It's got my tea in it. I'm telling you, I have been so cold today.
Well, you know what? You're hydrating.
Yes, I am hydrating.
That's important.
I am hydrating.
So how about any other? I want to get to the course that you have.
Yeah.
You're rolling out, still on track for the end of the month?
Yeah, still on track for the end of the month. I am super excited about that. And that some of this information may just be in there. So if you want to know more, absolutely sign up for that course. But right now it's going to have 4 modules in it. We're using the CALM method, CALM. And I think we talked a little bit about this last week. So C stands for creative vision for your life. Or A is assess your current situation. L is learn new ways, because, as we move along in life, some of the ways that we used in the past to help us mitigate stress just don't work anymore. So we have to learn some new ways how to do that. And then M is make a commitment to yourself to make these changes. And so under each of those modules, we're going to have several lessons that go through some pretty deep stuff. Mine is all, because I'm a social worker, it's all cognitive behaviorally related, but it's practical. It's not so deep that people can't do it, but I think people will make changes more efficiently when they understand why they're doing it. Right. So there's a lot of information in each of those modules, and I'm actually trying to finish up all of that now. So yeah. And in fact, I'm sorry, Steve, if there's an early bird special going on right now. So if you go to drmelissaoden.com/women and stress early bird, you can check that out.
So when we talk about the end of the month is when you're going to roll that out, right? You're on track for that. You said social worker. Have you done sessions with women? Do you work in that capacity? Have you worked in that capacity, talking with women, advising them, working, really?
Yeah, I have in the past. Yeah. And in fact, a lot of that came very informally when I was teaching. Mostly in public health and social work, you have mostly female students. You have some men, and we need more men, by the way, in public health and social work. So if you're so inclined, go sign up at one of your local grad schools, right? But for the most part, I worked with girls and young women, mostly young women. And so I had a lot of opportunity over the 10 years I was teaching to be able to work with them and hear what was going on in their lives, and just, I won't say necessarily counsel them, but certainly listen to them and be able to give them some feedback in terms of what they were experiencing.
But just think about the insight that you got, Melissa, in terms of what women are experiencing, how they're navigating it, how you help them navigate it. And I got to believe that also helped get you where you are now, and to prepare for, offering these courses.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that, I learned as much from them as hopefully they learned from me. And what I mean by that is that I grew up in the 1970s, where the only reason you would get a college education is if, God forbid, your husband died or left you, and you would need a way to make ends meet. Having a career was not ever anything I was taught to do. My mom finished her college degree when I was 11. So in 1981. So y'all can do the math. Y'all can figure it out. So, I actually had, and her sister is a teacher. So there are a long, list of teachers in my family that I was able to learn from. But by the time I got to the time I was about 30, I realized that, there was more to life than just trying to make ends meet with just a job here and a job there. Although mine was always very targeted in the medical field. But, I by that point was in grad school when I was 30, and it just occurred to me, holy cow, you're going to be able to have a career. Right. And nobody's here stopping you doing that. I know that to a lot of young women out there, that sounds really strange, but you have to understand the way things were in the 1970s, right? There were not as many opportunities for women back then. You were either a nurse, a secretary, or a teacher for the most part, And so, that whole world just kind of opened up to me. And so I have learned a lot from these young women that I have been able to talk to about what it's like today. And being able to contrast that with how I was raised has been very interesting, to say the least.
Got to be. And kudos to you for moving your path along that way. And, back then, even just thinking that this is what I want to do. This is what I want to do. There's unfortunately, a lot of girls back then, women back then weren't thinking that, because it wasn't on their radar, so to speak. So the website, drmelissaoden.com. Melissa, spelled like it sounds, 2 S's, right?
2 S's, and Oden, Oden. And if you're interested in the course, it's /women and stress early bird.
And we have the course. Of course, no pun intended. You work with women in terms of navigating their lives, moving them forward, being on their side. There's so many women that are going through things, even if they're dealing with a stressful, you're like the stress expert. I'm giving you that title.
Oh, thank you.
You are. Nobody knows as much as you do. And I truly mean that. If women are going through that, they could reach out to you, right?
Absolutely. There's a place on my website to do that. Just put your name and email in there, and I will get back to you just as soon as I can.
Got to ask this one final question. It has nothing to do with anything. I'm going to majorly digress, but I got to ask this question. I always see the Volkswagen bus in your background. What's up with that?
So I don't know if you recall or not, but I am an ULA life coach. I'm a certified ULA life coach, and the VW bus is our icon for our company. The ULA guys, we call them the ULA guys. They travel around the country in a 1970s ULA bus. I'm not kidding you. I've actually got my picture by it. I put dream stickers on that bus. I will be seeing that bus at the end of this month when we go to Nashville for our conference. And so that's kind of our icon. And I know you can't see this very well, but this is a bumper sticker that says Live ULA.
Wow.
So that's why that's up there. That's representative of ULA and the life coaching that we do in that company.
I don't know if it's coincidence, poetic justice, but you're just talking about the 1970s, and that bus is from the 1970s.
Yeah, it's 1970s. It's got the surfboard thing on top of it. I mean, it's a very special bus.
Oh, I gotcha. All you had to do was say that, and I have the perfect picture of it.
Yes.
Does it have wood? Is it blue, or does it have the wood grain panels?
No, actually, the actual ULA bus is, I believe, white, but you can't tell because there are 27 layers of dream stickers on the bus. They have been traveling around for well over a decade collecting dreams from people.
Awesome.
And so there are over 27 layers of dreams on that bus. And so we're going to add a 28th layer when we go to Nashville at the end of this month for ULA Palooza.
Fantastic. Sign me up. Always great having you. I'm Melissa. And again, Dr. Melissa Oden, ODEN.com is the website. And I'll meet you later at the Godiva store.
Yeah, by the bus. I'll be by the bus. Yeah.
I love it. All right. We'll catch up next time. Thank you so much.
All righty. See you later.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.